So I started working from home about 3 years ago now, and over the first 2 years, my health actually kind of declined a bit. I actually put on a decent amount of weight, and I didn't really connect it to the fact that I was now spending like 90 to 95% of every single day just sitting at a desk in front of my computer. However, over the past 6 to 12 months, I've lost about 10 kilos or about 22 pounds, and I'm the fittest I've ever been pretty much in my entire life, and I still spend the majority of my day in front of my desk. For me, there's actually quite a few pieces of tech that have really been helping me to be healthier and to lose weight. And so today I just thought I would share those pieces of tech. Maybe you're a content creator or you just work from home doing something else. Hopefully, if your health is something that you're trying to take a bit more seriously, these will give you some ideas of what you might be able to do. So for a bit more context, over that first 2 years of working from home, I put on about 15 kilos. And over the past year or so, I've started going back to the gym, trying to be more regular. And then I also got a shoulder injury. And when I went to the physio, he actually suggested that it was probably because I sit at my desk all day with poor posture. But apart from that, I've also been quite conscious of the fact that I keep hearing these statistics about people who are sedentary and how much they can affect your health. So apparently they did a big study on about 480,000 people, and it showed that people who mostly sit at work have a 16% higher risk of death from any cause and about 34% higher risk of cardiovascular diseases versus those who don't mostly sit. And then this one was the really big one for me. Another study found that people who are sedentary for a lot of the workday have a 47% higher risk of death versus people who are more active. Now, of course, you can argue with that. I don't really know how they're coming to that number, but I think we can all agree it's probably not the best for you to be sitting all day. So that's kind of the context of why I've started to take my health a bit more seriously, especially as someone who is self-employed and just sits at home all day. So let's talk about the first piece of tech, and this one is more of just a regular piece of furniture, to be honest, and that's an ergonomic chair. Now, I've got a couple of ergonomic chairs. The one I'm currently using is one from Omnidesk. This video isn't sponsored, it's just the one I'm currently using. I find this one does the job, and it's a lot better than the chairs that I've had in the past. I had some really crappy old IKEA chairs. And I think for me, the fact that it is an ergonomic chair, it kind of reminds me to sit up with a better posture. And I also really like the armrests. They definitely make a big difference to my overall comfort throughout the day. However, what I've noticed is that even though it's an ergonomic chair, I always end up slouching, and I slouch, I have a bad posture, I hunch over. It definitely hasn't been the fix-all. And so one thing my physio actually suggested was using my standing desk more. And to be honest, I actually haven't used the standing desk in standing mode as much as I would have liked. And so over the past few months, I've been using it in standing mode a lot more. And the idea is that it helps stop you from hunching over at your desk, which you tend to do when you're sitting. Because when you're standing, you naturally have a bit better posture and you're more conscious of it. And so I've been really trying to do that. The next piece of tech is the latest addition, and I think it's probably made the biggest difference to my overall health and weight, and that is a walking pad. Now, I've thought about getting one for ages, but I finally bit the bullet and got one from Amazon for like $200. It's got an absolutely terrible brand name, Waipu. I have no idea who came up with that name, like seriously. But this thing has been solid for me. I use it every day and I consistently hit 10,000 steps a day. Whereas before I was struggling to hit like 4,000 steps a day. So it's making it much more achievable because I can just stand on my desk, walk and keep working. And not only that, walking 10,000 steps a day burns a surprisingly large amount of calories. I think I've worked out I probably burn an extra 300 calories a day, which has been excellent for weight loss. I was one of those people who used to think that if you're not running, then what's the point? Walking isn't going to make a difference. But this walking pad has absolutely proven that wrong for me. Now, apart from these kind of three main things in my office, there's a couple of things I use for tracking my health. And the reason I think tracking your health is important, at least for me, is that it really motivates me to keep going. Because if I can see my progress, if I can measure that I'm doing better, this month than I was doing 3 months ago, or if my weight has improved or whatever it is, actually measuring it for me makes all the difference. So the first thing is my Ultra Human Ring. I've been using this for about 6 months now, and overall I'm really happy. It's great, especially for sleep tracking. I use it instead of my smartwatch these days, but it also tracks your movement throughout the day, helps me stay on top of my caffeine intake, and just gives me a general sense of my overall health. And on top of that, I've also got a Pixel Watch 3, which is okay, honestly. I probably wouldn't recommend it. I think if I could go back in time, I probably would have got a Garmin, and I might still end up switching to one in the future. I know a lot of you have recommended that, but the main reason I really like it is because I'm able to track my workouts, so I can track my workouts at the gym as well as tracking all of my steps on the walking walking pad when I'm in my office. So this helps me to know how many steps I've actually completed for the day. Plus those workouts get then synced into my Ultra Human app and ecosystem, completes the overall picture of my health. So look, I used to not really think about this stuff too much. As I've gotten a little bit older, I'm a lot more conscious of my health. And I think to me, it's just small changes like this that you can add into your regular routine that can just make a huge difference. And I personally have seen really great results so far. So again, hopefully if you're trying to improve your health, this has given you some ideas of what you might be able to do, especially if you're someone who sits at a desk a lot. But if you've got any other suggestions for smart health tech or anything like that, please leave it in the comments because I'm always on the search for more health related gear. In the meantime, if you'd like to hear more about my experience with the Ultra Human Ring, I've got an entire review video right here, which you can check out.